Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is a fresh, creamy, slightly tropical strawberry cake that looks amazing but is actually super simple to make. Wait until you see this cake at the end. Soft coconut base, silky cream, and fresh strawberries that just melt in your mouth, and the best part? It's super simple to make. Stay with me and I'll show you everything. Let's start with the base. I melt 125 grams of butter in a pan. Once it's melted, I add 150 milliliters of cooking cream. Give it a good mix and you already get that rich, creamy smell. Now for some flavor, I add a bit of rum, not too much, just enough to give it that nice aroma. Then some honey. I'm using homemade forest honey, which gives an incredible taste. Finally, I add coconut flour and cook everything together for a bit so it combines nicely. While I'm preparing this coconut base, I like sharing simple, slightly lighter desserts like this that anyone can make at home. If you enjoyed this kind of recipe, you can stick around. There are many more cakes like this coming. For the cake mold, I'm using a 26 centimeters pan, which is about 10 inches. I line the bottom with plastic wrap so it's easier to remove later. Now I place the coconut mixture into the pan and I just press it down with my gloved hands. I keep it simple. Just spread it evenly so it covers the whole base. I press a bit around the edges as well just to make it more even. It doesn't have to be perfect, just roughly the same everywhere. This base is great because it stays a bit soft and moist, which goes really nicely with the cream later. And that's it! Super simple. Now the base is ready and we can move on to the filling. First, I take 80 grams of cornstarch and mix it with a bit of cold milk just to make sure there are no lumps and everything is nice and smooth. Take your time here, it really makes a difference later. Once that's ready, I heat the rest of the 1,000 milliliters of milk. Add a splash of rum and a little honey for flavor and slowly bring it to a boil while gently stirring. Once it's hot, I add the cornstarch mixture and keep stirring constantly until it thickens. At the end, I add 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. Chia seeds are really great because they add a nice texture and help thicken the mixture. They are also known for being high in fiber, which supports digestion. They contain omega-3 fats, which are good for your body. I like them because they do not change the flavor, but give a slightly interesting texture. And they work really well in this cream. Now I slowly pour this warm mixture over the coconut base. You can already see how nicely it settles on top. I gently smooth it out with a spatula or a spoon to get an even surface. There's no rush here, just take your time and spread it all the way to the edges. Once it's nicely leveled, I cover it. This helps prevent a skin from forming on top. Then I place it in the fridge to cool and set properly. This step is important because we want a stable layer for the next cream. As it cools, the flavors come together even more, and the cake is already starting to take shape. Now I prepare the next layer, and this is the creamiest part. I whip the cream, 250 milliliters, until it becomes firm and gets a nice volume. Not too much, just enough so it stays soft and fluffy. Then I add a bit of maple syrup for a gentle sweetness. You can also use honey, but maple syrup gives a really nice flavor. Now I add 500 milliliters mascarpone or cream cheese. And I gently mix everything by hand to keep it light and airy. I do not overmix because I want the cream to stay soft. At At the end, I add a little rum to taste. This gives a nice aroma that brings everything together. Once the cream is ready, it is smooth, rich, and very soft. Exactly what we want for this cake. Next, the gelatin. I heat 200 milliliters water with fresh mint for about 5 minutes to infuse flavor. I remove the mint, and you can already smell that fresh, natural aroma. Mint pairs really well with strawberries and makes the cake more refreshing. I add a bit of honey for flavor and then 15 grams of gelatin sheets. Gelatin is actually derived from collagen and helps the mixture set nicely. It gives us a beautiful glossy top and keeps the cake stable when slicing. At the same time, it does not affect the taste, it just adds structure. I stir everything until the gelatin is fully dissolved, and then I let it cool down nicely. Then the strawberries come in, I cut them in half and arrange them on top. You can give it a little twist here to make it look nice. Now I carefully remove the plastic wrap from the second layer, and you can see how nicely everything has set. Now I add this creamy layer over the chilled filling. You can already see how nicely it sits on top. I slowly spread it across the whole surface with a spatula, working gently and evenly to get a smooth, flat layer. I pay extra attention to the edges to keep them nice and clean, because it really shows in the final look of the cake. There's no need to rush here, just take your time to get a smooth and even finish. This layer adds that perfect creamy softness, and it already looks really beautiful. Now I start adding the strawberries cut in halves. I place them nicely in a circle to create an even and beautiful pattern. I begin from the edge and slowly move toward the center. This way, the cake looks clean and very appealing in the end. I try to place them as evenly as possible, so every slice later has a nice amount of strawberries. If the strawberries are sweet, the cake becomes even better because they add that natural freshness. This is actually my favorite part because the cake gets its final look, and it already looks like something from a bakery. There is no need to rush, just place them gently, and the result will look amazing. Now I add the gelatin and slowly pour it over a spoon, not directly onto the cake and strawberries. This way, it spreads more gently and does not damage the strawberries or the cream. It is a small trick that makes a big difference, keeping the top of the cake smooth and beautiful. Now the cake is ready, and I place it in the fridge for a few hours to set nicely. And now the cake is finally ready. After a few hours in the fridge, it has set beautifully and has the perfect structure. Now I'm going to cut into it for the first time. This is always my favorite moment because you get to see all the layers. I slowly cut the first slice and look at that texture. The coconut base, the creamy filling, and the fresh strawberries on top. It looks absolutely beautiful. I cut another slice, so you can really see how nicely all the layers hold together, and how soft and creamy the cake is. It is such a perfect combination of coconut cream and fresh strawberries. Light, refreshing, and just the right amount of sweetness. You can already see how soft and juicy it is and how everything comes together in one bite. If you try this cake, let me know in the comments how it turned out. And if you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like and subscribe. And now the best part, I take a fork and gently press into the piece of cake. You can see how soft and creamy it is. It almost melts right away. The layers are so smooth and light, and everything just comes together perfectly. This is exactly the kind of texture you want in a cake like this. I'm sending you a sweet hug, and I'll see you in the next video.